Hi guys, I'm Bex Trista, and I'm here with John, who is the creator behind the rather amazingly beautiful Collage Atlas. I don't think I've ever seen a game quite like this before, man.
Oh, well, thank you. That's absolutely music to my ears, obviously. It's all entirely hand-drawn, so it's a little bit of a fool's errand in the first place, so it's not that surprising.
Because you intended this game originally to be like a short 10-minute type experience?
Well, yeah, absolutely. In fact, actually, even before that, it was going to be a picture book.
Okay.
So
that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, originally I had an idea to do a picture book, and the picture book was going to have an app alongside it that would have like small little scenes in 3D space that you just kind of have a look at and poke around at. And the picture book was going to be dealing with themes of agency and like how your presence in the world was meaningful and this kind of thing. So in one scene, I added a pinwheel flower. That when you looked at it, it spun in response. And at that point, I suddenly realised that these themes that I wanted to talk about made a lot more sense in the interactive space rather than the book. So it then became, let's make this 10-minute thing, as you mentioned. And then people played that and said, well, when's the full thing coming out? So here we are now making, a full game.
A massively epic undertaking with literally every single aspect is hand-drawn. The beautiful things that you have on your stand are things from the actual game.
Absolutely, yeah.
And that's incredible to see. Do you even have any idea how many hours this has taken you?
No, I really try hard not to think about
That's probably best for your own sanity.
Yeah, I mean, so for example, a single tree in the game might take 8 or 9 hours to draw, and that's just one tree. So,
that's amazing.
Yeah, so someone asked earlier, have I ever added up how long the game has taken so far, and I just said that. Please.
No, and then you cried in a corner for a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's beautiful because you are moving through. I mean, now you've said it started off as an idea for a picture book. That's just suddenly making so much sense because it has that feeling of you're just flowing through the pages of this beautiful creation. And the fact it's just in black and white, the screen is mostly white. It's very zen and calming. And
thank you
it
very
has
much.
that feeling of moving through a picture book narrative, which is incredible.
Well, I mean, calm and safe and those kinds of feelings are certainly things that I want people to feel in the game. And actually, I had been asked, because there are a number of games that are quite emotive and very deliberately kind of work the player into a fairly delicate state and then crush them with something heartbreaking at the end. So someone already asked me, does this have a really sad ending? Are we going to cry our eyes out? And no. Because I want you to feel
you're safe. It's a safe space.
Comfortable. It absolutely is, yeah.
So because it isn't sort of strictly a straightforward narrative you're moving through, it's more like exploring of themes and emotions. Is that a good description?
Yeah, that's entirely fair, yeah. I mean, I personally really like stories that deal with universal themes and things that allow the audience to project their own experiences onto them and in doing so kind of complete the meaning. So with this, it has narrative elements, but they're there as prompts, and they're there to encourage you to think and reflect on your own life.
And also, it's a first-person experience, adventure game, story-driven. It's every genre sort of going on here.
Yeah, so it's been hard to describe to people because there isn't a single core loop. There isn't a single activity that you do over and over again. There's actually lots of different moment-to-moment interactions, some of which are never repeated again in the game. So I'm trying to explore as thoroughly as possible what can you do with just your presence, your position in the world, what can you do with your line of sight? With those two simple tools, how many different means of interaction can I come up with?
Yeah, because it's quite a simple control schema as well.
Absolutely, yeah. So, we've had children play it today, and that's been really, really gratifying to see that they can connect the controls. One of the big things about the game is I want to make something that's engaging as possible without being challenging.
Yeah.
There's a tremendous number of games that are really, really challenging that I personally don't actually find engaging. And there's also a lot of games that aren't challenging at all, but also aren't engaging because, they're a very passive experience. So this game is really a challenge for me as a designer to try and find how can I keep you engaged without, you losing lives, without you having scores and so on and so forth.
Because it's kind of free roaming and explorative, and you're leading and creating your own narrative from the elements the game is sharing with you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, I got that right.
And actually, I probably wouldn't have said it any better myself. So
but I've got that just from my experience of it so far. So I'd say you're doing a really good job at that.
Oh, cool. Oh, well, that's music to my ears. Thank you so much.
It's also interesting because you never see the protagonist. You are the first-person camera, and you're never given a view of who you are. So it's up to your own interpretation.
Yeah, absolutely. So naturally, like anyone who's writing anything is going to fuel their writing with their own experiences. But I don't want this to be a story of my life and my experiences, and I want to appeal to people who, I can't even imagine just yet, from all kinds of different backgrounds. So it's very important for me to not have this sense that this is the story of someone else. There isn't this character there.
Yeah, so you're exploring yourself and you're able to project because it's universal experiences, so
Hopefully.
you can project your own things onto the elements that are being... It's so difficult to describe this game. Looking at it and showing it, it's very easy to describe how beautiful it is,
thank you
and
so much.
to show that sort of elements of it, but describing the actual experience is something that you're really going to have to try for yourself. So can you tell me a little bit more about the process of creating this? I mean, it must be different to creating other games when you're doing so much of it hand-drawn.
Yeah, I mean, it's entirely different, naturally. Every single asset in the entire game does start out as a pen and ink drawing on watercolour paper.
So physical pieces of paper, these aren't digitally created assets.
Yeah, absolutely. And even, so with 2D things, that's simple enough. I draw a shrub or I draw, a blade of grass and whatnot, and then that sits within the 3D world. But with 3D objects, what I actually do is I print off the outline of the UV texture layouts.
Okay.
So it's like flattening an Easter bunny, a chocolate Easter bunny, where you have the foil.
Yeah.
So we flatten that out, and then I draw all the detail in, scan that back into the computer, and then wrap the model in that drawing.
That's amazing. This takes some incredible mental gymnastics to kind of have worked these things out.
Yeah, I mean, I've spoken to other technical artists who say, like, why on earth are you doing this? And they look absolutely horrified, and
they presumably then see the game and say, now I see why you're doing this is gorgeous.
Yeah, they seem to like it, but I mean, it is it's a tremendous amount of work, and I've really set myself up, but I've got to finish it now, haven't I? So
Well, the fact that people played the sort of 10-minute version and immediately were asking you where's the rest of it gives you a good indication that people were enjoying it that much that they needed more of that experience.
Yeah, I mean, that was a massive lift. I really made it just because I felt compelled to make that 10-minute thing. It was something I desperately needed to do because I've been working in other people's styles for so long, and I wanted to make a game that was a fair reflection of my personal style. So yeah, when people showed an appetite for more, it really spurred me on, definitely.
Roughly how long have you been working on it so far?
So it's been full-time production for 12 months. There was some pre-production before that. I actually initially had a grant from the UK Games Fund, and that allowed me to get the project really started. Subsequently secured further funding, and it went into full-time production. So about a year so far.
Yeah, and you reckon you've got sort of a reasonable amount of work still to do?
Yeah, I think maybe 8 to 10 months of development left to do before it's content complete. Yeah.
And then you can discover which platforms that this will be on, and hopefully all of them, because I think everyone needs to be able to play this.
Well, I want to reach as many people as possible, and I'm trying to design a game that is largely platform agnostic, so every opportunity to get it to a platform I will take up if I'm able to. So yeah.
And also it's an incredibly accessible game as well. Having such a simple control mechanic means it will translate to any medium, or people that have issues with using standard controllers. It's also very easy to adapt as well.
Yeah.
So did you think about that at all when you were making it, or was it just developed organically?
Yeah, I mean, I've actually suffered from chronic hand pain for years in both my hands, and it actually stopped me from programming and playing guitar for years. I'm able to do that again now, and that's certainly something that sat in the back of my mind while making this.
Yeah.
There were so many games I wasn't able to play for years because they relied on triggers, they relied on buttons and dexterity that at the time I wasn't able to do. So with this game, certainly I want people to be able to interact with, even if they've got very limited control of their hands, hopefully they'll be able to get somewhere with this.
And regardless of age and things as well, again,
absolutely,
it's something that you can just step into it as if you are stepping into basically one of the most gorgeous magical picture books I've ever seen in my life. So
thank you. That's amazing.
Like, even just what I've seen so far, it's not even finished yet, and I've been ridiculously impressed, and everyone I've shown pictures of this to has been just so enamoured by how gorgeous it is and the way it moves.
Thank you so much. I mean, obviously, this is the best possible thing to hear. So
yeah, you're doing an amazing job. I can't wait to see it finished. For people that are interested in following the game and finding out more, have you got websites, social media links and things?
Really, really active on Instagram, certainly, because it's such an art-driven game. I post regular updates and photographs and even videos of what I'm working on. Twitter as well is primarily just about this game. And I do have I have a Tumblr as well that you can follow development on, and I do the occasional YouTube developer diary video as well.
Okay, so people can see video you doing the drawings.
There is that. I mean, I've done one video on specifically the art, one on the themes, and one on the music so far. So there are deeper dives into those aspects. So if people want to know, exhaustively about it, then that's there.
That's amazing. So I will put links to all of those things in the gubbins, in the description box below where we are hovering around now, so you can check that out. Thank you again for talking to me.
Thank you.
It is such a beautiful game. Thank you for showing it.
Thank you so much.
And we will see you guys next time. Bye.